From perennial developer WayForward, best known for games like River City Girls, Mighty Switch Force, and of course the much beloved Shantae series, comes a game from a franchise that's lauded as being perhaps the best cartoon of the 2010s. I own the series on DVD and watched the show in its entirety, but I originally fell off once the show started to dabble in more dramatic themes around Season 6. No matter your opinion of the different eras of the show, there's no denying there's something for everyone here, which is no doubt why it's so popular. When the show is funny, it's a riot. There were a handful of Adventure Time games made during the show's initial run, all of varying quality, but none have a name as long as Adventure Time, Explore the Dungeon, because I don't know. For those of you who have watched the Cartoon Network show, you'll absolutely adore the presentation. It's the perfect blend of 2D pixel art living within a 3D world. You almost can't tell if you're not paying attention to the art style because the entire vibe matches the show to a T. WayForward knocked it out of the park in matching what the show is and the humor it's best known for. The end result is full of color and whimsy. Voice acting is done by the whole cast, which wasn't always common in licensed video games. The absolute best quality the game has to offer is the spectacular soundtrack, done by Jake Kaufman and Ian Stocker. Some of the tracks are all-timers, in my opinion. I'm not sure you could do a better job translating the show to such a degree as WayForward did.
One for me? Stomachs are weird.
Adventure Time, Explore the Dungeon because I don't know, was released between seasons 4 and 5, so I would consider this period to be the Golden Age, which would be the era where they focus more between comedic themes and the fun adventures between Finn the human and Jake the dog, the two main characters. As such, many of the memorable moments from the show are referred to. Like, this is going to be a little difficult to say, the Royal Tart Toader, who went insane in the episode The Other Tarts. He's part of Cinnamon Bun's power-up that litters food all over the ground, best used when you're low on health. The game is a top-down hack-and-slash dungeon crawler where the entire story of the game revolves around Princess Bubblegum asking Finn and Jake to check out disturbances in the underground dungeon that's made up of 100 floors. Each 5 floors, you reach one of 3 scenarios: a boss fight, a story level, or an ordinary checkpoint. The story levels often contain a challenge scene you must play out. Be warned, they can be pretty difficult to complete the first time when you play them. One of the earliest examples sees you running away from a horde of prisoners while you must also try not to die, running through a booby-trapped gauntlet with traps, switches, and fire all over the place, all before getting to the finish line. Each time you die in these story levels, or boss fights, you have infinite continues, but at the cost of half your treasure. That's a pretty steep cost and makes all the progress seem for naught, considering how expensive the character upgrades are, wherein lies one of 2 of the game's biggest flaws.
Might as well.
Each and every playable character has upgrades to unlock, making the increasingly difficult floors more bearable to explore, at least in practice. These are practically mandatory to get if you want to go far in the game. The first upgrade in each category, they're not too expensive or hard to obtain past the first 20 or so floors, since not much treasure can be found in the previous. You have categories such as thumps, otherwise known as health, rowdiness, your attack power, focus, your charged power-up, and imagination, which increases the number of power-ups you get. To increase your attack power a second time, for example, the cost goes from only 60 treasures to 200. A sharp increase in cost that forces you to explore and clear out each and every floor. Most floors toward the middle of the dungeon can get you anywhere between 20 to 50 treasures, so you have to play roughly 8 to 10 levels, at the very least, in order to possibly, maybe, be able to afford one singular power-up. Floors are quite literally large mazes with a hidden timer where death comes out and attempts to find and kill you once that invisible timer expires. The further you delve, the higher chance you have to lose all your treasure with one wrong move. If you die, you don't get to keep all your treasure, and when you go back into the dungeon, Princess Bubblegum takes all your treasure because
candy taxes, remember?
This leads into the second fatal flaw: time and space. Not only are you expected to explore multiple floors, but they take half of forever to complete. Look at this. There's so much space. There have been times in later floors where I just straight up got lost and couldn't find the exit for the life of me. Each layer of the dungeon can take you over 10 minutes to complete if you're trying to get all the treasures. Let's do some math. With needing to play through a minimum of 10 floors to have enough treasure to get the second rowdiness upgrade, if you didn't get too lost too often, that would take you almost 2 hours to obtain around 200 treasures. The final rowdiness power-up requires 500 treasures to obtain. In the footage you see, I was determined to get through and beat the game, which I finally did. In the process, I filled Finn and Jake's rowdiness stats. Thankfully, floors 80 and onward give you lots of treasure, but by that point, you'd prefer to already have the power-ups for the most labor-intensive area of the game. The last 20 floors are hard. I mean, really hard. But if that's not enough for you, at the quote-unquote end of the game, you unlock the Nightosphere, which works like a super hard mode with 70 more floors for all you masochists out there. Everything I've just described is all well and good to a certain degree. I don't mind a reasonable challenge, but when you first play through the dungeon, you're playing the story. Which means, once you completed every 5 floors, the game, in its infinite wisdom, boots you back to the surface. Which means, say it with me,
candy taxes, remember?
You must get past the story parts once, so you don't get interrupted by being forced to go back to the surface. That kinda stinks. As one can imagine, Adventure Time Explore the Dungeon Because I Don't Know was reviewed poorly by critics for all consoles, Wii U, 3DS, PS3, and Xbox 360, the version I played for the video. With a steep cost for upgrades, a more steep penalty for death, a story that prevents you from upgrading your character right away, and a large amount of time the game requires you to gamble in order to survive and progress makes this a hard game to recommend for anyone who doesn't have large amounts of time on their hands and enjoys higher difficulties. To those of you who are determined to play this one, just be warned. The more progress I made when I finally knuckled down and got far, the more tedious it felt to play. What makes me sad is how polished the game truly is. Your character controls well, there are no glitches or bugs I've encountered, and the gameplay loop of fighting, exploring, and collecting loot is a lot of fun. Everything other than the extreme treasure requirements are absolutely wonderful, and there is some fun to be had early on. But once the levels get too large and the game gets too hard, it will disincentivize most players from exploring much further. This is Adventure Time Explore the Dungeon Because I Don't Know. A missed opportunity, but a great looking and sounding one at that.